This is our project TheraThrive, an integrated therapy software. Team members are Alex Gribble, Grant Guernsley, Ricky Roberts, Kyle Woods, and Tvishka Gamaj. Our agenda will start with abstract, an introduction, what is cognitive behavioral therapy, explaining who our target user is, showing our conversation response diagram, and then I'll show you our actual software with the homepage, conversations, and what our code for our conversation looks like, and then finally our goal tracking. Then we'll get into our Gantt chart and budget, the challenge faced, and the improvements and what features to add, and finally our conclusion. So our problem is to meet rising demand for mental health care that exceeds professional supply. Our solution is to have AI-powered therapy software using CBT as well as social support so that a user is able to go through therapy and connect with people on their own time by themselves. This impact will help bridge the treatment gap between providing structured, affordable, and accessible therapy sessions with a user by themselves. Major depressive disorder is a serious mental health condition that affects approximately 280 million people globally. Depression is characterized by long-lasting feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and loss of interest in everyday activities. The current limitations that cognitive behavioral therapy has is the lacking of real-life connections, as well as the lack of motivation for people who have depression. Our plan is to combine CBT with relationship building and having easy and accessible treatments that you're able to do by yourself. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a structured, goal-oriented approach that focuses on present to change negative thought patterns and behaviors. CBT is based on the idea that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all deeply interconnected. CBT works through all three by enabling therapists and clients to work together to identify challenges and identity in replacing negative automatic thoughts through strategic growth experiences. Our target user for the software are people that have MDD, but may not have a formal diagnosis. On their smartphone or laptop super often and are very proficient in technology. They also are usually disconnected from supportive social relationships and have been quite isolated and have an environment at home that is very lonely. So this diagram helps explain how our conversations work and what the chat needs to work through to explain to the user responses. So first we have a request classifier, which determines the user intent or what the user is trying to get through to the chatbot. Then we have session agendas and instructions. This guides the chatbot's conversation flow to be able to keep them on rails, but also work through what we need to click the boxes to get the sessions over with. Finally, we have our chat response agent, which generates appropriate responses to the user. We have our tool function, which marks agenda completion as well as what we need to get through to the conversation.
After logging in to our software, TheraThrive, you will be brought to the homepage. This homepage shows us what our therapy software is about. It's combining computerized cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, with social support for holistic treatment of depression. This shows our treatment gap. It explains what CBT is, our target user, our solution, all the technologies we use, market opportunity, challenges and future improvements, and meeting the team. After going through the homepage, our user is going to be able to go to the chat window. This chat window will show free chat and then 8 different sessions of cognitive behavioral therapy. Today I will show you session 1. So to start off, I will be able to go to conversations, and this is something that I've already put in so that we don't have to go through all of it together. But if I hit view, it is able to show that this bot was able to explain all of what CBT is, and everything and how it works with this person. So after the user is done, it'll able to say that let's begin our first session. And this is where it says it wants to get started by learning a bit more about our experiences with depression. Understanding our history can help tailor the sessions to meet our goals. Could you share when you first started noticing symptoms of depression? Were there any specific events, changes that seemed to trigger those feelings? And please share as much or as little as comfortable. So in here, I'm able to go in and hit conversations and go back and hit resume. So this is where I can say it started last year when my dog died. Let's see what the chatbot says. It says, I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. Losing a pet can be incredibly difficult, and it's understandable that it would be a significant impact on your emotions. Our pets often like family, and their absence can leave a big void. Would you like to share a bit more about how you're feeling since then? And have you had any changes in your mood or activity since your dog passed away? So this conversation will continue to go until the first session is done and the item will be completed, and it'll prompt you to move to session 2. This is our code to help explain how conversations work in each session. So for session 1, our chatbot needs to have 3 extensive explanations of how to interact with the user. These 3 guidelines are conversation instructions, guardrails, and agenda instructions. The conversation instructions explains who the chatbot tries to be, showing that it's a professional therapist trained in CBT for major depressive disorder. It goes on way longer to help explain what kind of voice it should use and what should personality be. And then we have our guardrails, which are to explain so it doesn't have to get off topic, and it solely focuses on CBT conversation and providing support through a non-clinical guide. Finally, the agenda instructions are what goes through each session, and it goes through each thing as a responsible therapist to guide through the user so that it can go through agenda items. And that's where you can see the conversation agenda. So first, it'll welcome the user like we saw, and then it'll go into the psychoeducation, our background and history, which we saw, the core beliefs, and then finally case conceptualization, and it'll end in review with the user, and then prompt it to go to session 2. These are the current agenda items for session 1, which are very long and confusing, but it helps the chatbot be able to solely work with and not go off topic.
Finally, our last implementation in our software is our goal tracking. As you can see right now, this is our goal tracking slide in our software. This is where you can add goals or delete goals. And finally, we want to be able to implement for our goals to be able to be referenced, finalized, and added through our chatbot and our conversations that we have. As of right now, we do not have that working, but that is our next plan, is to be able to have our chatbot be able to reference our goals, add goals, and finalize our goals, and that all show up in this slide. This is our Gantt chart where you can see that our project timeline works with research and then finally goes on to our software. So we've started with our research, and we wanted to make sure that we had all of that down and we understood exactly what we were working with before we got to the software side. Our biggest milestones, as you can see in this Gantt chart, are a UI, figuring that all out, having our CBT sessions mapped out and working properly so that the AI can work with the user, and having our relationship building where our user can talk with the chatbot through relationships. This is our budget. Our budget is really small because all we have is our API costs, which are the conversations through the chatbot that we have to pay for in our conversations. But thankfully, they're only 15 cents per hour. So we've spent around $10.50 on that, and the rest of our time is all that we have left. So our labor is really what we focused on for this project. So our OpenAI technology had tool calls which were used to identify when agenda items were complete. They did not activate as precisely as anticipated, and another problem was that it always thought we were trying to harm ourselves. So we wanted to make sure that the user was able to be emotional and very deep in their thoughts, but not trigger the get help right away agenda every time. We also had cross-disciplinary collaboration, which means we had to deal with managing different schedules and capstone requirements throughout the 3 majors that we have in our project, and dealing with everybody having different classes at different times. Finally, we had to just refine our chatbot responses so that we could have conversational effectiveness, where the chatbot usually just liked to get off topic and talk about random things. Our improvements and features we want to add are our user and chatbot co-creation of therapy agendas, our negative automatic thoughts journal, which would be another page on our software. Then we'd have timed prompts for better conversational flow, so our chatbot would only work through certain prompts through a certain time slotted to it. And then finally, it'd be able to use a messaging system with other people using the software for accountability. Finally, our key takeaways are that AI-driven therapy does help bridge the gap in mental health support. This can be seen in our software as well as other softwares that are being used today to accomplish the same thing but in different ways. Our structured CBT with social elements does improve user engagement, and that future developments will enhance personalization and effectiveness. Our final thoughts is that this project lays a groundwork for accessibility and scalable digital media and mental health solutions